Thank you guys for coming out tonight. My name is Kayla Joelle and I will be talking to you guys about PTSD in elephants. On July 29, 2009, Joanna, the caregiver at the elephant sanctuary, was killed by one of her elephants, Winky, during a PTSD flashback. This raised awareness for many people on the issue of PTSD in animals. Joanna was killed when Winky suffered a flashback, which was possibly triggered due to a bee sting. We're not really sure how that coincides with her triggers, but we do know that it was due to PTSD. She was accidentally stepped on and died shortly after. So what exactly does PTSD in elephants look like? PTSD in elephants is characterized by flashbacks due to triggers, possible nightmares. We're assuming because the young are prone to wake up screaming, well, trumpeting technically, and as well as decreased neurological synapses. These are the tusks that were collected in China before they were destroyed during the ivory raid. This shows, in my opinion, just how many elephants have been affected by poaching. And if we consider the fact that many of the smaller horns especially belong to tusks belong to females, and many of those females have young, we can start to grasp the implications of how many young are growing up with PTSD, due to the fact that they probably witnessed their mother being killed. And go over to the triangle. There we go. This is a baby elephant with its mother. The mother was killed by poaching. Park rangers found the mother shortly after and rescued the child. I don't know any more about this elephant. We don't know if it will grow up to have PTSD, but we can assume that it probably will, and we can take the measures that are necessary in order to rehabilitate it in a way that keeps everyone safe and the elephant happy. Elephant poaching and culling is a problem because with the decreased numbers in a herd, the young are much more likely to become violent, and they are also much more likely to not know how to respond to threats. Elephants pass down their knowledge of how to survive through generations, and so without the older matriarchs to teach the younger ones about how to respond to certain calls, certain threats, in a way that protects them, they are much more likely to suffer at something that they really shouldn't have died from, such as a rhinoceros attack or another elephant herd. There was a study done on a bunch of elephants that had been saved from a culling. They were of the age of 4 to 10 when the culling occurred, and so they were not killed. These elephants were regrouped at the age of roughly 20 to 25 years, and they were given, the caregivers played a set of sounds in order to see how they would react, such as a familiar matriarch sound. And what they were supposed to do is go to greet the matriarch, and what they were supposed to do when they heard an unfamiliar sound is to bunch up and form basically an elephant fortress kind of thing. Instead, they wandered around aimlessly and had no idea that they were supposed to be doing anything. A similar experiment was carried out on elephants who had not been part of a culling, and they reacted normally. So this shows that the elephants were not confused by the fact that it was an electronic noise as opposed to a natural one. Wild poaching is especially a problem because instead of just killing off the entire herd, it kills off certain members, generally the older ones like the matriarch, which can disrupt society and make for a very unstable society where plays are being made for power. There's also the worry of the older bulls being killed. This leads to the younger males when they reach an age where their testosterone soars to be much more likely to carry out violence against human tribes in the Ugandan area especially, and other detrimental effects. This is actually a picture of Winky, the elephant that we were talking about earlier. As you can see, her tusks are especially small. She was part of an ivory poaching that didn't actually end up killing her, because they take the ivory off when they're still alive. It just generally kills them. They cut hers off far enough down that she actually lived. That's possibly why having a bug bite near her face would have triggered her. Something near her face would have scared her possibly and triggered her into an attack. Poaching, or PTSD in captivity, though, is much more common than PTSD in the wild, as we were discussing earlier. PTSD in the captivity is much more common because instead of having the natural ability to exercise their fight or flight response, they are forced into staying and dealing with any problems or stressors that may occur. Many of the stressors include food deprivation, chaining up for days, and in general having their autonomy removed. It's much like being in an internment camp for humans, where you are not allowed to decide when or what you eat, when or where you sleep, and for how long. Your schedule is very strict. It would be very scary, honestly. And I feel that with proper conservation and better knowledge of elephants, that we can save them and hopefully restore their species. Thank you. Have a good night.